Well, bakers, I have some exciting news. Need to Know, the first baking entertainment podcast, is back. After a few years of taking a break, I'm excited to say that we are coming back with brand new episodes. Please join me, Gemma Stafford, and my co-hosts, Ami Shukla and Tiana Cohn, as we count down to new episodes by sharing some of our favorites from the past.
I wanted to jump into the latest in news and celebrity in baking, and I want to combine a few things that I know you love. First of all, Chrissy Teigen. Talk with me about Chrissy.
I don't know a whole lot about Chrissy. I know she's famous for being famous, because she's John Legend's wife.
She was a model.
She was a model, but I have to say though, I am a bit fascinated by her Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, she posts, gets very personal, posts a lot of stuff. She's interesting. She's definitely, I'm sure she's like a lot of fun.
So are you aware that she has an obsession with fries?
No.
And so she actually is creating a documentary called Fries the Movie that's going to be on Peacock shortly. And the show is going to explore really around the world, the untold stories behind fries and flavors and well-known chefs and everybody. You're a fry fan, right?
I'm a huge fry fan. I think, isn't everybody a fry fan? Like, who doesn't like fries? It's fried potatoes. And then you get to dip it in like mayonnaise or ketchup or like truffled mayonnaise. Or even like if you just do salt and vinegar.
Well, what makes a perfect fry for you? Because there's so many different types of fries out there.
Well, I like chipper, I would say like chipper fries. So like thick fries.
It's like fish and chips.
Like fish and chips types of fries. Where I'm from in Ireland, in Wexford, we have a kind of a different soil to the rest of the country. And I'm not sure exactly exactly what that means. I just know that it's different. And we grow strawberries really well, and we grow amazing potatoes. And for a short period in the summertime, we have the new potatoes, which are like summer potatoes. You see them like here as well in the US, like they're summer potatoes, but these ones that you get in Ireland, in Wexford, are they're like kind of floury. They are like, honestly, you just like all you need is a bit of butter, salt and pepper, and it's like amazing. It's some of the most incredible potatoes. You can use those to make fries.
Okay.
Yeah, so for the summer months, go to the chipper to get fish and chips because you're going to get the new potato fries.
They're different. Yeah, that's funny. I don't remember us doing that at home. Maybe
we did. Why. I think I'm positive one time we were. No, actually, maybe not. But yeah, I always try and eat as much summer potatoes when I'm home.
And talk to me a little bit about sweet potato fries.
Well, that's more your area of expertise.
Well, then, so I am a fan of sweet potato fries. And part of it, I have to say, is that people tend to say and think like sweet potato fries are healthier, right?
Sweet potatoes have great, like they're full of nutrients and like they're really good for you. Are they healthier? Well, they're still fried or covered in oil or whatever it is. So
it's all relative.
It's all relative, yeah.
It's all relative. Well, and I know you have talked about on this show before how you love to dip fries in shakes. Is that right?
No, I don't dip them. I eat them at the same time. So I will eat chips and take a drink of my chocolate milkshake at the same time.
Yeah, I got you. Well, I know some people like to dip them in their Wendy's Frosties or things along those
I know
lines.
people do that. I never had that. I have to say though, Kevin, I'm still craving it, but like I have been craving like a milkshake and French fries and like a burger. We went to Shake Shack a few weeks ago. Now I feel like we should go back and get a milkshake and a burger and fries.
Well, you were a big fan of the custard.
Well, I also want the custard. That's why I didn't get the milkshake the other day, because I wanted the custard.
Yeah.
But I think now I want the custard and I want the milkshake.
In all the flavors. Actually, so we ordered a meal. We had a burger and fries. And then we ordered custard after that. And I ordered it, went in, got it, brought it back. And Gemma's comment was, do you remember what you said to me?
Where's the rest of it?
I ordered, I think, 1 scoop, and
It was for the 2 of us. And you were like, I'm only going to have a little bit. And I was like, well, that's a lie straight off the bat. And then, but there was only like, you could get like 3 scoops. I was like, why didn't you get 3 scoops? Because I waited so long for the custard. And it's like, if you're going to do it, just go all out. Because I don't know when I'm going to get it again. I'm not going to get it like in a few days. But it is so, probably one of my favorite treats to get out and about is Shake Shack frozen custard. I'm in love with it. I love it.
well, it was your first time.
No, I think I had it before. Oh no, wait.
I don't think so.
I think I didn't know.
Shake
No,
before.
in Chicago,
New York.
New York, was it?
Yeah, we didn't have it.
So I kind of thought maybe I knew of the frozen custard, but I never had it.
Sure.
I thought I had it in Chicago one year.
Might be the case.
Yeah.
Might be the case. So on to something else I know that you love, and again, you've shared on this show before, is that you're a big fan of cereal.
I am a big fan of cereal.
And if you can remind the listeners some of your favorites.
Well, I love Golden Grahams. I love the sugary stuff that I probably shouldn't love. So, like the cocoa puffs, the Dracula ones, like
Oh wow, Count Chocula.
like all those types of ones. But I don't know them because I don't buy them.
Did they have Count Chocula in Ireland?
No, I had it here in America when I was young.
When you were in Florida.
Yeah.
When you traveled to Florida. We beat up on Ohio before. We could spend a whole episode on Florida.
No.
I'm sorry, Florida. I'm sorry, Ohio.
But I love sugary cereal, but I don't ever eat it because I can't have one bowl. I'd have to have the whole box. Like I've thought about days. It's like maybe when it's my birthday, I'll go down to Safeway and get a box of like Count Chocula and just eat it all.
Yeah, well, I you know this. One of my favorites is Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but funny enough, I don't tend to buy the Cinnamon Toast Crunch brand. I think I buy what's supposed to be the healthier version of it,
Which still tastes like
which
dessert,
makes
though,
me
Kevin.
feel better, but it tastes like dessert. So Cinnamon Toast Crunch has just earned a spot in the baking aisle because they're making a Pillsbury cookie dough with Cinnamon Toast Crunch and cinnamon rolls.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Well, Gemma, we're actually seeing a lot of different mashups, if you will. Like, I think Peeps flavored Oreos were earlier in the year. There's all sorts of things. Like, what are your thoughts about these kind of, strange sort of pairings?
I even saw one the other day. What was it? Or did you tell me about this last week? But it was just like really odd. But it's not, they don't make sense. The only thing that makes sense there is that they're both cereal, they're both breakfast foods. But to eat, like as a consumer, to eat that, the cereal in cinnamon rolls, like that doesn't make sense. It does not sound like a good eating experience. It's not something I want to put in my mouth.
And again, I believe it's the flavors of it all.
The flavor
that ends up being that, maybe
I do love
textures.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch it's on my list. No, I just think it's unnecessary and very gimmicky.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great that there are fans of Cinnamon Toast Crunch out there. So the question is how can they enjoy Cinnamon Toast Crunch in unique ways? I'm thinking as a marketer here. But I agree. I think it's kind of lazy. Because it ends up being, it just ends up being Pillsbury trying to figure out how to get a new product on the shelf. And I'm trying to even think, I think Cinnamon Toast Crunch is probably General Mills. So 2 different companies trying to partner up.
Yeah,
on that.
it's just makey-uppy. I'll go back to that. It's just makey-uppy. It's like, hey, let's, mush together a ham sandwich and a bag of popcorn. It's like those 2 things have nothing to do with each other. And I feel the same way about what you just said.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I won't go there. For Pillsbury, Gemma, I know you've made crescent rolls. Actually, I think you just made them last fall for the holidays.
Last fall, yeah, a year ago.
Do you think the Pillsbury crescent rolls are worth the hype? The popping fresh dough?
I think I'm going to opt out of that question because they're really a nostalgia thing. Like people had those growing up. You had them for Thanksgiving. Like it's really fun that they come in the tube. They're really they're fun to make the way they're all cut up. Like I think it's really smart. Do I think it's the best dinner roll ever? It's like, no, but I do get why people love them and why like it's a sign of like the holiday season and thinking back to when you were young and making them in the kitchen. So I do. It's a part of people's traditions, and I think that's why it's so popular.
Well,
but it's not part of my tradition.
Well, it's, you hit it right on, which again is growing up. I got to bake occasionally in the kitchen. Again, as I learned later, I love my mother, but she admitted to my sisters and I years later that she actually didn't like to cook. That's why we ate out so often. But we would bake on occasion. And then, of course, we would whip out the poppin' fresh dough for the holidays. And the thing, I think the experience is a big part of it too, of just even, getting that pop and that visceral sort of experience even before you put them in the oven. I think that's part of the fun.
Yeah, I remember like they did sell those in Ireland, and I remember like when I was young, they did sell that, and like Pillsbury like was an American brand, and it was fascinating to me how was this even possible? How do they do this? And this is the kind of food they have in America. That's why you want to go to America, because I remember like it just being so foreign to me. Like this. How do they get them in there and they pop open and they're already cut? It was bizarre. But yeah, no, I do get it. And I get why kids love them so much.
It's all of our 1950s innovations, I'm sure. But I loved the cinnamon rolls. Like that was one.
Oh, they make cinnamon rolls as well?
Absolutely, yeah. I loved the cinnamon rolls. Those were incredible.
Do you love them more than my cinnamon rolls?
No, absolutely not.
Good answer.
Absolutely not. How difficult is it to make crescent rolls at home, Gem? Like as far as, again, and I'm thinking as just like a newer sort of baker, like, is it intimidating? Should it be intimidating?
Well, no, baking shouldn't be intimidating at all, because my mum always say to me, if you can read, you can cook. And it's about following a recipe, and just being, paying attention to the fine detail, and it's just following. Like there's rules when it comes to baking that are not the same as like cooking. With cooking, I feel like it's more forgiving. You can be a little bit looser. With baking, it really is important to follow the recipe that you're given. But crescent rolls they're easy to make. And we made the recipes on our website, and we did a video of them, and they're super easy and they're fun to make too. Yeah.
I think it seems like anything like that, or croissants, I know, like following the original recipes for croissants is labor intensive, but there are other ways to do it too, simpler to kind of get going, right?
Yeah. Because I'm not one for these laborious recipes and laminating doughs. I don't want to do it, and it's not that I don't have the patience, it's just that it's hard for me to get my head around it. It's like, wait a second now, how do I fold it? Like I need step-by-step photos, and I find them quite difficult to follow, so I just don't do them.
What is laminating doughs? What is that term?
So it's when you would work in butter and fold it into to do different folds, and the process could take days.
It gives that flakiness.
You're building all those layers, of flaky pastry.
Cool. That's cool. Yeah. Well, I know you have different techniques with butter, the frozen butter, integrating that to just spread the butter more evenly, right?
Yeah. And
keeping it frozen so that it doesn't melt.
Keeping it frozen, because when it comes to making pastry, your ingredients have to be, and this goes back to this is old economic home economic books from the 50s. It's like, keep your knives and everything cold. It's just like, but it is kind of true. Like you do have to work fast when you're making pastry, and you have to keep everything cold, because what you need is that butter to be cold going into the oven. And what happens is the heat in the oven causes the butter, the little flakes of butter or the layers of butter to, it heats them up. They create steam. The steam rises the pastry. And that's how you get all of these lovely little layers. So it has to be cold to go into the oven. If it's already melty into the oven, you're not getting a layer. So you want to have it nice and cold.
Nice. Talking about older cookbooks brings to mind, we should take a look at some older cookbooks and how they write their recipes. I'd love to see you comment on how they used to be.
I was even looking through the book yesterday you had out here on the table, the 50 quick and easy pizzas. I think that's an old book, right? The one that you had on the table.
Like in the 21st century.
Really? It seemed very dated. But no, I've learned a lot since writing my first cookbook, and I know now better, like I know how to write a recipe properly, where even 3 years ago, I still wasn't writing a recipe exactly how it should be. Only until recently have I really kind of like honed that.
And what do you think that is? What do you mean, like write it correctly?
Well, like, what I do now is envision myself, like I always, when I edit recipes, when we make recipes here and I'm editing them from the website, I always edit them with no music on, no sound on, no Netflix or anything. And I go through the recipe just like I would if I was in the kitchen. So it's like in my bowl, so I'm grabbing my bowl in my imagination. I'm putting in my flour, my baking soda, my salt. And then I have to go back and check. It's like, is that the order that it's written up in the ingredients? Is the quantities of the grams and ounces correct to the cups? Should salt go before baking soda? Salt is bigger, so it should go before baking soda. And like this, like it's all these tiny details that the reader doesn't know, but what makes for a well-written recipe and for a successful recipe. So it's so much work, but it's really important.
I think it's incredibly important from any baker reading a recipe, I think, so that, again, it is more accessible or more doable. I mean, there's so many recipes out there that are incredible. The photos look great, but when you have a list of, 50 ingredients and tons of steps, not a lot of people are going to actually follow through with it.
Yeah, and I don't. Like, I just think about myself. I think about me as a consumer, and a consumer of like digital content and recipes and stuff, and I don't have the wherewithal to read these really labor-intensive recipes. I can't get my head around it. I literally tune out. So they have to be straight and to the point and short. And I think you can do that. There's some recipes that do need more time, that do need longer, more explanation. But I think, there's lots of recipes that it's just that people are writing unnecessarily, and it's confusing to the reader, i.e. me.
It's a good audience of one there, and many, many more, I'm sure, agree with that. Gemma, you have a beautiful flower there that our son George just brought into you that he stole from somebody else's flower bed.
Yeah, he just made me an accomplice. He came in, handed it to me, and looked at me like, now you're a part of this too.
Especially because he's underage. But I've actually been noticing a lot of edible flowers in the last last year or so, especially. Like, people have been incorporating that, I know, in focaccia and all sorts of different, trends and things out there. Have you baked much with edible flowers? No,
I've only decorated and garnished with edible flowers. I actually haven't baked with them. I think it's very pretty. I know, like, there's this one girl in particular, I can't think of her name, but who's like hugely popular for kind of inventing the edible flowers in cookies. It's very pretty. It's very creative. Not really my cup of tea. Like, I would like, I think like, well, am I going to eat that? Am I going to eat that cookie with a marigold on the top of it? Like, no. Like, so I get the beauty of the purpose of them is that they look amazing, but then I still have to eat it. And is the eating quality there still good?
Well, what about the flavor? For example, like a rose water type flavor.
I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know. I can't speak to that because I've never eaten a rose petal. I've had crystallized rose petals, right. But they're always garnished, so you don't really eat them.
But rose water.
Rose water is
different.
Yeah, I adore rose water.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know though. I'd love to have rose water in a shortbread cookie.
Sure.
I don't know if I want a big old leaf of rose on my shortbread cookie.
Actual flour.
Yeah.
You recently released a rosewater gelato. It was lovely.
Yeah, that's nice.
That was
And that's where I do like to incorporate, like, I do love rose water. I love to have it with fruit, with the ice cream that we made recently, added into cookies.
Is rose water extracted like a geranium or something like that?
I don't,
as far as
honestly,
is it boiled
I
in?
don't know the process.
We have to look up that one.
Yeah, I have to look at that one.
We have to look up that one. What about pansies? Have you ever had pansies before?
Yeah.
You've eaten?
Yeah, no, I haven't eaten them. I use them as garnish.
For garnish, yeah. So I think they have like more of a mild sort of green flavor, kind of tastes like lettuce.
It's just hard to imagine. It's like eating an insect. It's like, you're not like, tastes like chicken. You're like, no, it tastes like the earth because it eats earth and it is an insect and it tastes like the ground.
I kind of feel like flowers and insects might be...
No, I think it's similar because they come from the earth. So you get that like earthy...
Well, so do potatoes.
Earthy flavor. Kevin, don't start... Are you ragging on potatoes right now?
No, I'm not ragging on potatoes.
You picked the wrong woman.
It all comes from the earth. So
potatoes are delicious and I will not have you say a bad word about them.
I promise I will not. Well, moving right along, Gemma, there are a lot of new baking shows coming out on Netflix, and your Hulu guest appearance on Baker's Dozen is coming out as well.
Oh, are we allowed to talk about that?
Yeah, it's well, not specifics yet, but that's coming up in October.
Okay.
But Nailed It's coming back in September, Gemma.
And they didn't ask me to be on it again.
Well, you've been on 2 epissodes.
It's coming back. Yeah. That's a really fun show.
Yeah. Well, what was that experience like being on, especially being just a guest judge coming into the set, coming in?
It's a crazy experience because Nicole Byer is a comedian and she's a performer and that's what she does all day long. So from the moment you're on set until you leave, like she's on and she's working and she's like cracking jokes and making people laugh, and she's always going for that shock factor. I know you probably don't see that on Netflix on Nailed It, but she's always going for that shock factor because her comedy is a little bit racier, and she's just hilarious. She's absolutely hilarious. And Jacques Torres, Mr. Chocolate, is an incredibly nice guy. But it's a lot of fun. I like it because it's a competition show, and I've been on a few competition shows, but this is just fun. It's all about being fun. It's about being the worst at baking, not the best.
Yeah, but they do it in a fairly lighthearted way, which is nice.
They do. That's why I like it.
Some shows that just rag on people, and I think it's
fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So a little bit more on the positive side, and kids seem to enjoy it too.
Yeah, like from what I hear, like people, I've been stopped and people have asked me, "Have you been on Nailed It?" Or I get messages saying on social media, like, "I saw you on Nailed It." Remember one time I was in Kansas. And I was in an elevator and a little girl turned around and asked me, was I on Nailed It?
That's fun. Yeah. Well, we'll have more details on Baker's Dozen coming to Hulu, as well as some other shows this fall. We actually have a lot of exciting things planned for the holidays. So Gemma, I think that takes us to the end of another episode here.
Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this classic episode of Need to Know. And remember, brand new episodes are coming your way this September, so get ready.